All right, chicos, let's finish off our notes on how we can make questions. So we have already learned how to pose questions using intonation by raising the pitch of our voice, using inversion, so doing the do or does of English simply by putting our verb first, then following with the remaining, either subject or remainder. And then another easy one was using tags, right? So we just have a regular sentence and we throw a tag in at the end. Today, we're going to talk about how to write questions using a question word. The key here is to remember to put your question word first. So I'm going to use a Q to indicate my question word. So a who, what, when, where would go first. Then the remainder kind of depends on which question you're asking. But let's look at our two examples. ¿Cómo llegas a clase? How do you get to class? Here's your question word. In this case, we have a verb. There's no subject here, right? We can tell by the AS that we're saying you, so you could have put it here. ¿Cómo llegas tú? Verb before your subject. A clase, to class. Here's another one. ¿Por qué? There's our question word. Necesitas, two verbs, estudiar. Now, we know that this AS tells us that we're saying you. Why do you need to study? So we could put the you in there by saying, ¿Por qué necesitas estudiar tú? But of course we know that we can skip it. But notice that the question word goes first. You have already done this once already and you didn't realize it. Think about when we practice asking how many of something there was. Do you remember that word? We asked something like, ¿Cuántas? How many? Sillas hay? How many chairs are there? We started with our question word. So it's something that we definitely have already done. So one of our question words that we like to use is ¿Por qué?, which means why. Remember, when it's separated with an accent. ¿Por qué estudias español? Question word. Verb, remainder. Why do you study Spanish? We see our you in the ending of this verb. Well, we often will use the word ¿por qué?, because, to answer this. Why do you study Spanish? Porque es divertido. Because it's fun. So many times you'll see that there's a relationship between these two. Let's try some of these. Okay. How did we ask, how are you? Do you remember that phrase? Right. It's ¿Cómo estás? And we skipped our subject, but we could have thrown it in there, right? ¿Cómo estás tú? Notice what went first. Your question. How did we ask, where are you from? Right. It's ¿De dónde eres? We didn't use our subject too often, but if you wanted to, you could put it here, right? ¿De dónde eres? ¿Cómo estás? And then, of course, we had the how many chairs are there? So we already have seen many times that when we ask with a question word, we start with the question word or phrase at the beginning.